When I was about 8 years old, I checked a reference book out of the library that listed all the boarding schools in the United States. I wrote self-addressed stamped envelopes to a dozen requesting applications. When they arrived, I slipped them under my mom's bedroom door. And there's an asterisk beside SASE, the acronym for self-addressed stamped envelopes, because I realized, of course, young people would have no idea what that meant. And I said, You better, swear to God, you better not ask me what that is.
And that was in response to a prompt saying, what's a story that encapsulates who you were as a young person? And your tweet got 15 retweets and 1,042 likes.
One of the reasons why I think that story instantly came to mind when I read that tweet asking, what sums you up? I mean, it has all of my stuff. A library.
Right.
Being precocious, going by myself and figuring this out on my own.
And you went to college in North Carolina, right? I
did, in Durham, North Carolina Central University.
Did you like going to a traditionally or historically Black college?
No, Gabe, my life was so defined by Black authority figures and Black culture, it was never even a question. And my mom had gone to an historically Black college. She went to Winston Salem State University in North Carolina. And my dad had gone to the other big HBCU in the state, which is North Carolina A&T.
And may I ask what your folks did?
So my mom, she got a job with the airline, and we really became an airline family. And my dad was a serial entrepreneur. I think I get a lot of my technical acumen from him.
I mean, you are sitting in your own studio right now, so that's
true.
Yeah.
But my mom's side gave me the greatest gift of all, I think. They were readers. So my grandmother, being a good church girl, read demonic Stephen King.
Wow!
I've always found that hilarious. She's like the Sunday school teacher, and she loves Stephen King. And she was very theatrical and had a kid's heart. And so she would play with me as like a playmate. And we would come up with stories and act them out.
Okay.
And hers were always scary, which was very inappropriate now that I think about it. And I remember her acting out the Tommy Knockers.
Yeah.
My mother to this day is like a more of a mystery. So not gore or horror, but mystery and African-American literature. This is where I had this massive 2-set volume called the Negro Anthology. But it was like the defining set of like Black literature up until like I think the 80s or something, when they had the Renaissance and Black literature studies. But at the time we had this, my mom had been a Black Panther in college.
Oh,
and
really?
So she had a lot of stuff.
So cool. Wow.
Yeah. And so she had a lot of that. And so our home was full of, Harlem Renaissance era Black literature.
And that was in Charlotte or Winston-Salem?
Winston-Salem. Yeah. The Winston-Salem chapter of the Black Panther Party was one of its most organized and longest running chapters of the Black Panther Party. And my uncle was the president, Larry Little.
Larry Little. That's amazing.
Yeah. My mom was a soldier, and yeah.
Like, is there any anecdote or story that sticks with you, like that your mother told you from that time or from that experience?
Oh, gosh, that is if you'd asked me that question like 2 years ago, I wouldn't have an answer, which is so interesting. But about 2 years ago, that chapter had its 50th anniversary.
Wow.
And my mom went and reconnected with all of her old comrades.
Right.
And so they're now very present in my life. I now see and talk to them all of the time. And it has surfaced a lot of stories I had forgotten. About, listen, the stories from old Panthers, though, are like, they're only funny, I think, if you've trauma bonded.
Right. Okay.
Their stories are things like, you remember that time we almost got shot?
Yeah.
Protesting the prison up in South Carolina.
Yeah.
And to them, it's like summer camp. They're like giggling and, but hearing it secondhand, I'm like, you people are traumatized.
Wild. I mean, they helped clear the way in many ways, I presume. I don't claim to know, but for the next generations.
Yeah, I think what's so stunning for me is to look at them and just realize how young they were.
Yeah.
right? We're all, you and I, we're older than they were then. They were babies, pre-internet babies, which I think is just a different, even, you know, a different kind of understanding of the world. Their worlds were so much smaller, yet they had such big vision. My mom was from a small town with like 1,000 people in eastern North Carolina when she went to Winston-Salem State.
Wow.
So you go from a town that size where you are, there were 20 people in her graduating class,
right.
you know, and you go and you start talking about, you know, connecting with Castro and revolutionizing Black people all over the global South. Like, that's just a huge jump.
Right.
In thinking. And so that is one of the things that, you know, as I reflect on a vantage point of the age I am now, to think about how young they are.
You know, it's not like the violence that we see today on the videos wasn't going on, and perhaps even more back then. So people really putting their lives on the line and not having a video recorder to present evidence, you know?
Yeah, all we have are their stories for the most part. You know, when I talked to my Uncle Larry, and he, you know, you can tell these amazing, vivid stories about, you know, the cop he got into a fight with, or how they smuggled so-and-so out, or something like that. And you realize, and they tell the stories over and over again, but you realize the importance of that in a pre-video culture.
Right.
That we know anything at all about that time is because they can tell those stories over and over again. And I have a lot of appreciation for that.
Do you think there's someone out there that is archiving or recording those stories? Because it sounds...
That's a great question. Yeah. And I will tell you this, Gabe, I won't say too much more about it. I can tell you I have spent the last year connecting with people on that very question.
More Twitterverse after the break.